but you were up all night, thinking about how your world ain't right, and you wonder if things will ever get better. And you're asking, why is it always raining on you, when all you want is just a little good news, instead of standing there stuck out in the weather? Oh, don't hang your head, it's gonna end. God's right there, even if it's hard to see him. I promise you that he still cares. When the waves are taking you under, hold on just a little bit longer. He knows that this is gonna make you stronger, stronger. The pain ain't gonna last forever, and things can only get better. Believe me, this is gonna make you stronger, gonna make you stronger, stronger, stronger. Believe me, this is gonna make you try and do the...
Good afternoon, Tampa Bay. This is VJ Briggs. Once more, I'm setting in for Amina Well Wilson, our normal host, but because we are doing this segment today on a continual conversations of daughters confronting mothers, and I'm using my daughters first. We're continuing that segment with Marie Noel, the twin to Amina Well. So I am sitting in for her today. As we start this segment, before we see our first clip of Marie Noel and our ongoing segment with her, I was praying with my producer before we started the show, and he mentioned Marvin Gaye. And I had the pleasure, the sadness of watching on PBS recently an entire biography on him. And it was very enlightening to hear my producer say in prayers, he's talking to God, that if he and his father had had the opportunity, maybe just to talk it out. Of course, we know that Mr. Gaye, per this documentary, he was using drugs at that time, so maybe it wouldn't have mattered, but it appeared to matter a great deal to his mother as I watched her, and she was saying how they fought and how they couldn't get through to him because of his paranoia. I really do think that Mr. Gaye and his family, and so many families like his, would have benefited from conversating, if they could have, if they could. And once more, it goes back to my family, my walk with the devil as I looked around my siblings as we closed my mother's coffin. I always bring us back to that point because that is the pivotal point in my life when I said, I really don't want my children to do this. If God delays his coming and I go first, I don't want them standing around with the looks of emptiness, of despair, beyond just being bereaved that mom had gone on, but because there is, at this time, there was a need, a tremendous need to continue on as the adults, as the elders, and we couldn't do that because of this blockage. And even to this day, when we talk about her, there are so many if was, if maybes, if I could have. Well, I didn't want that. So as you watch our segment today, and as you've been following these segments, if you have not, I will be airing them again toward the end of my season here at TBCN. As we bring them together, remember, it was pain that brought us to this point. It was God that gave me the courage to do this, and also my daughters, to come before their mother. And in this segment, as we say, it is called Daughters Confronting Mothers. And it's confront means it's a verb. So it means that there's action, that they are actually moving, and I am willing to sit and absorb and pray with them and do whatever I can while I'm still alive and breathing. So let's move on to our first clip with Marie Noel as she continues in her despair, her crying, but most of all in her courage to confront me with many issues. The first and foremost in our house, the other adult, their father. Um, but what I'm hearing though is the frustration of still trying to adjust. You kept coming back to a situation where it was familiar. It was painful, but familiar. Is that true? It was painful. You can adjust to your dad's death because you told me on the phone.
I haven't adjusted to my
No,
dad's death.
but you said the way you adjust is that
I don't say he's dead.
you don't say he's dead because you
He's
said
in
he was away.
He's in Florida.
He's away and he's off on one of his things, right? Isn't that what you told me on the phone?
Yeah.
He was gone so much that when he died, the daughter that was closest to him could say, I can adapt to my dad's death only by thinking, oh, well, he's away on one of his things, he'll be back. You don't miss him because he was with you. You don't miss his hugs and his, gee, Marie, go for it. You miss him because the man was always gone. You can deal with his death because he was always gone. But this isn't about your dad. This isn't about your dad. This filming is about me and you and how my behavior with your dad molded Marie, molded this beautiful woman I see in front of me who is still such a child. There's a child in all of us who, when something goes wrong, that child, that little girl Marie who was stunned by the fighting, the arguing, her mother being punched out and her mother chasing the pain.
What? Why?
Why do you think I did?
Why to go through more pain? Because that's what you felt you deserved? You deserve that much pain, Mom?
You don't know that, but that's what you're doing. And the pain I'm feeling now, filming with my daughters and hearing it, is good because I can take that from you guys. It's time for me to notice you. It's time for me to come out of the living room dancing in the dark. It's time for me to leave that. One of the challenges my brother gave me, he said, you can't give up on your kids. No matter how old they get, that's a cop-out. He didn't say it like that, but what he was saying was you can't. You have to keep working at it and trying to find a solution. I'm still here. I'm not an orange cemetery. My solution is to talk to you and let you freely talk to me. You can be.
Mom, when have you allowed us to freely ever talk to you?
I am now.
Weren't we important enough? Did you just have us just to keep him?
No. I wish I'd have thought it out that much.
My dad is the one thing I can honestly believe he was honest about. He hadn't been honest about anything else in his life. I taught him way before he got sick. And it hurt like hell to hear my dad say the only reason why he married you is because you were pregnant with Emmy. And I can't help but believe it's just the only reason why you have more kids and brought us into this is to keep him.
Let me put it into perspective. The father was in the service when I had Emmy. I was 18.
But he found out he knew you had her.
No, but I didn't marry your father until, and like I said, this isn't about him, and he's not here to present his side.
But I'm asking you.
I'm telling you that I didn't even think about having kids.
Why do you keep having them?
I loved your father.
But did you love us the way you loved him?
I didn't look at how I loved him.
Did you feel the capacity, the intensity of the way you loved that man? Did you not feel that could you not pass that intensity of chasing my dad down and transition it over to us?
Not at that time. No.
We didn't deserve it?
Not that you didn't deserve it. He was my focus. He was my drug. He was the thing that medicated me. He was the thing that made me. I'm being as honest as I can be. He made me his presence. I thought I was ugly. I thought I didn't matter. I thought I was invisible. My mother had beat me all the time. Nobody noticed me. I was a ninth child.
So Mustafa, the man who adored you. What about him?
Let me finish. That was way after. When I met your dad, I already had my problem. Lance was just a solution. You guys could visibly see Lance getting high. But I was getting high on him.
Solution to what?
The solution to my pain, coming into this as a kid. I'm being as grown up now as I've ever been in my life. I'm not jumping up. I didn't go to jail to get stuff for you guys. I went to jail to get
Stuff for
attention.
him.
No,
To
attention.
buy him.
Attention. It didn't have anything to do with Lance. He just got part of it. Everybody got a little bit. I wanted attention. My mother had taught me if you have money, so I got money. I had a good job. We're only talking about 2 years of my life. So I have other years. But the attention it got me. Everybody in my family. I had a birthday party, Marie. For the first time in my life, my family gave me a birthday party. You know why? Azo gave me pearls because I had given. You know, the only person who didn't? God. I think you probably thought it was a little bizarre. We had never come together. Nobody had ever given anybody a birthday party. They gave me one at Rodessa's house. Why? Because I had money. Because I had money. So it isn't about, I know what you're saying, but what I'm telling you, and I feel it, and this is the most I've talked about me in the taping, but it's important if you understand that it was not about your dad getting new clothes or buying him. It wasn't about ignoring you guys. I didn't even know what I had. I was just accumulating
You know now?
things. Yes, I know now. I even knew when he died that that was a big part of that man that I hadn't even bothered to get to know. I'm not blaming him for everything because it isn't all his fault. Who was he? Who was Lance Briggs? Who was this man I was married to for 33 years, had these beautiful kids that could make me laugh, I could see good moments with his kids, and I never expounded on that. To the point where his daughter that loved him most, the honor she paid him, came from a place in him where if you could just go back, there was something in everybody that even to this day when he died, they say, you know what though, he was a good guy though. That was real. But nobody, even his wife, could really put their finger, not even your daughter, why you felt somebody needed to let him know you are here. You are on this earth. You are somebody. That's what I'm saying to you. So please, it was not about your dad. I didn't see anybody. I didn't see me. So please, tell me, in our house, it's important. I'm glad you're yelling at me. I'm glad you're upset. Because from this day forth, Marie, we can put down the wall.
But Mom, your kids showed you that. Even your kid, we showed you how important you were, what you were
I
worth.
didn't see that.
Mommy, I went to extremes. Like you said, I was a boy kid. I was Daddy's little girl. Because I still felt you deserved so much more. And I felt that you could have got it if he was just not around. I went to the extremes of lying that this man molested me just so you can get rid of him. So you could have a life. And what did you do? Even then you didn't believe he brought the man right back.
Because you acknowledged that you had lied.
I did not.
Yeah, Marie.
I had not acknowledged that.
You did, though.
Mommy, I didn't. You wanted to believe that I had lied. I acknowledged that in your mind. I hadn't acknowledged that,
Let's
Mom.
go back. I'm glad that was one of my questions. Let's talk about sexual molestation. Let's talk about the most vicious thing that had happened. Lance had left. Let's go back to Sacramento. I remember this was yesterday. A bonfire was made with a man's clothes outside by his son. Because everybody believed you.
But you.
No, I did believe you.
For what, every minute, 10 minutes?
No,
Until
Marie.
you called him?
No, Marie. Wasn't about calling him. That was the one. I even went to my sisters and things, and I said, Lance did this. Because used to be all of, you was the only one
He
ever.
molested Janae and he was still in our house.
Yes.
You still love this man enough to do it.
No, Marie, I did not love myself enough not to do it.
Nor did you love your kids enough to continue to allow this man
No.
to be a part of our lives.
No, he was my girl. No, I did not. He was the only thing that was
So why is it so wrong for Lance to have his drug of choice?
Because
If you can still justify your actions by your drug of choice being my dad, why isn't Lance's addiction to drugs justified?
Marie, you're missing something here. I'm not justifying it. I'm telling you why I did what I did. Justification is what? Nothing. I'm not justifying being with Lance. I'm telling you why I was with Lance.
Did he mean that much?
No, he didn't mean that much, but he was the only thing that
Why
meant.
did you stay married?
My life was so low that he's all I had that made any sense. And he was a drug addict, an abuser. I was worse off than your father. Your father was an addict, but I was sicker than he was. Because he was what I needed to make myself get up in the morning. I couldn't lose weight and keep it off because he could manipulate the situation, and that was my second love. I didn't see you. I didn't see me. How was I
Do you
gonna
see
my
you
kids?
now?
I do see me now.
What do you
and I
see
like
now?
me. But let's talk about you.
Mommy, you called me your face forever.
Yeah.
And when you, what was that? Why? Because I look pretty?
Yeah, and you look like me. You were the person I wanted to be. I wanted to look like you. And I said, oh my God, there is something in her face. And I said, she's fake. I said, oh my God, if I put on makeup and I look in the mirror, that's who I am. I told that dad, I'll get my nose changed and I'll look like Marie. And nobody can call me roaming or ugly or fat. You were my face. You were when I started coming out the haze, as you got older, I could see what I could be. Me, I'm your mother, but I'm younger than you guys. And you were so into it. You didn't care. You didn't care who said what. You made your own decisions, and that was a part of me that hated that in you. But one day you came to me here and you said, Mommy, oh, we were in a store. And I was like, she really wants to do something like me. She said, no, let me write the check. I've always watched you write checks. And I said, she actually watched me? What do you remember most about me, Marie? Physically, what do you remember? What stands out? What mattered to you?
Beautiful.
But what about me was the thing that captured your attention?
You love, to me, Mommy, I always look at you loving yourself. You always, the way you dress, your hands, the way you wrote, your presence when you walked into our school.
Suppose I was tell you I didn't even know that lady at all. I knew my hand. I loved my hand. I've loved my hand since I was 14. Don't ask me why. There was something about my hand. And because you know why? I'm going to tell you why I love my hand. Because I could study my hands and never see anything else. I could study my hands and they were different than anybody else. I used to sit and play with them. Imagine someone that nuts. I didn't see my feet. I didn't see my arms. I didn't see any of that. You know who told me I was pretty for the first time? And I believed it? Your dad. Your dad introduced me to my hair, to my mouth, to my body, to my feet. He was good at it. And then he took his time and ripped all of that apart and took me back to somebody ugly. He set me up. And the only thing he left me with was my hand. He could not take them. And he left me with you guys. He couldn't take my face. You didn't disappear. You didn't get overweight. So no, Marie, I did not see you guys until you got older. I hid in a dark room. My brother Gus would tell me, he'd make little comments about, hey, you're looking good today. I believe him. You know what? Because he used to hang out with my husband. And I said, he took my baby brother from me. I hate him. I hate Gus. But I'd grin at him and they'd be down there lifting weights. And I was very good. I should have gotten an Academy Award.
Go get your cup, huh? Cup up the refrigerator.
I always felt that Gus was hiding things. This is just an idea so you will understand, so you'll stop beating up on yourself and everybody else. When you tell me that you are like your father,
What did you say?
when you say to me, you know, Mom, I've accepted there's a large part of you that's like my father.
I did.
And I said, okay, she's being honest. Then I said, oh my God, he's such a painful person. So we go back, Marie, we go back to, that was a question I asked all the other women. And you've answered it in your word. I would say, home is where the heart is. What does that mean? I think you've answered that. What does that mean when you think about your home that you grew up in? What does that mean?
I remember the home when you grew up because I said every time I opened that door, my home is in my head. So even when I come here and I feel displaced, home is in me now. I can say, I'm just now realizing what home is.
How?
It's no longer in my head. I have to face it. My reality is my home, and it's just this.
Cut. We're going to cut now because you need to go check him out.
Logan, come get your shoes. We're going home.
Camera's ready.
You gotta
Whenever
go
you are.
home.
Okay, Marie, you going to sit down? You going to stand up? Or? Okay. Home is where the heart is. You said that your home was inside of your head.
I think I'm just now realizing that. I mean, that with Yvette, my past relationship, everything has been in my mind. And it's time for me to step out of my fantasy and however hard it is, live in my reality.
Relationship is a part of your reality.
What do you mean?
Relationship. Having a relationship is the key to your reality.
It's not the key to it, but it's definitely a part of it.
Why?
Because I haven't shared my life with just me. I've allowed others to share my life with me.
So you're talking about a relationship with you, not necessarily another person right now.
I was never able to deal with just me.
So you want to deal with just you and your children.
I mean, I want, how do I explain this?
Well, I thank you for that time, that moment that you, and I'm sure in looking at it, you've had some questions. What in God's name was going on? So that prior clip of Marie's that we just viewed, Marie is, as you will notice with all of my daughters, what the old folks say, bone of detention was their dad. Why did I stay with him? Why did I accept him back? Why did I allow him to abuse me? Why did I constantly, no matter how many times the police were called, no matter how many times he seemed to lose his mind, I would forgive him. My children, as I tape this, from each and every one of them, The question wasn't so much that he did what he did or how he behaved, but they looked at me and they wondered, why? Did you love him more than you loved us? Did you care more about him than you cared about us? What was it? What was it? And as I now talk and look at the conversations between myself and my daughters, I see them in a different light. I see them not as little girls, but I see them with the pain in their own lives. And what I'm trying to do with this segment is look at what we call the intergenerational makings of daughters. How does your daughter react? Why is she angry? Why is she mistrustful of men? Why is she mistrustful of relationships? Maybe why is she choosing to be with a woman? Why is she bisexual? Why do they yell at you and disrespect you at times and they're not aware even that they're doing it? These are the questions that come in my mind as I look at this, but that I'm learning because this is what they saw. And as I look at her, her other siblings who have had over the last few years since this was taped, because these are pre-tapes, they often say, she was so dramatic. That's not really the way it was, but that was the way for her. That's what she saw. And so I have to look at what that and where did that drama come from, where did that pain come from, and then I look at my mom, I look at my sisters, and I look at myself, and this is the next generation. So let's continue with the clips today. Let's move to the second clip of Marie Noel as she confronts still the issues now of abandonment. Dad, only by thinking, oh, well, he's away on one of his things, he'll be back. You don't miss him because he was with you. You don't miss his hugs and his, gee, Marie, go for it. You miss him because the man was always gone. You can deal with his death because he was always gone. But this isn't about your dad. This isn't about your dad. This filming is about me and you and how my behavior with your dad molded Marie, molded this beautiful woman I see in front of me who is still such a child. There's a child in all of us who, when something goes wrong, that child, that little girl Marie who was stunned by the fighting, the arguing, her mother being punched out and her mother chasing the pain.
What? Why?
How do you think I did?
Why to go through more pain? Because that's what you felt you deserved? You deserve that much pain, Mom?
You don't know that, but that's what you're doing. And the pain I'm feeling now, filming with my daughters and hearing it, is good. Because I can take that from you guys. It's time for me to notice you. It's time for me to come out of the living room dancing in the dark. It's time for me to leave that. One of the challenges my brother gave me, he said, you can't give up on your kids. No matter how old they get, that's a cop-out. He didn't say it like that, but what he was saying was you can't. You have to keep working at it and trying to find a solution. I'm still here. I'm not in Orange Cemetery. My solution is to talk to you and let you freely talk to me. You can be.
Mom, when have you allowed us to freely ever talk to you?
I am now.
Why weren't we important enough? Did you just have us just to keep him?
No. I wish I'd have thought it out that much.
My dad's the one thing I can honestly believe he was honest about. He hadn't been honest about anything else in his life. I talked to him way before he got sick. And it hurt like hell to hear my dad say the only reason why he married you is because you were pregnant with Emmy. And I can't help but believe it's the only reason why you have more kids and brought us into this to keep him.
Let me put it into perspective. The father was in the service when I had Emmy. I was 18.
But he found out he knew you had her.
No, but I didn't marry your father. until, and like I said, this isn't about him, and he's not here to present his side.
But I'm asking you.
I'm telling you that I didn't even think about having kids.
Why do you keep having them?
I loved your father.
But did you love us the way you loved him?
I didn't look at how I loved him.
Did you feel the capacity, the intensity of the way you loved that man? Did you not feel that you passed? Could you not pass that intensity of chasing my dad down and transition it over to us?
Not at that time. No.
We didn't deserve it.
Not that you didn't deserve it. He was my focus. He was my drug. He was the thing that medicated me. He was the thing that made me. I'm being as honest as I can be. He made me his presence. I thought I was ugly. I thought I didn't matter. I thought I was invisible. My mother had beat me all the time. Nobody noticed me. I was a nice child.
So Mustafa, the man who adored you, what about him?
Let me finish. That was way after. When I met your dad, I already had my problem. Lance was just a solution. You guys could visibly see Lance getting high. But I was getting high on him.
Solution to what?
The solution to my pain. Coming into this as a kid. I'm being as grown up now as I've ever been in my life. I'm not jumping up. I didn't go to jail to get stuff for you guys. I went to jail to get attention. No, attention.
To buy him.
Attention. It didn't have anything to do with Lance. He just got part of it. Everybody got a little bit. I wanted attention. My mother had taught me if you have money. So I got money. I had a good job. We're only talking about 2 years of my life. So I have other years. But the attention it got me. Everybody in my family. I had a birthday party, Marie. For the first time in my life, my family gave me a birthday party. You know why? Azo gave me pearls because I had given. You're the only person who didn't? God. I think you probably thought it was a little bizarre. We had never come together. Nobody had ever given anybody a birthday party. They gave me one at Rodessa's house. Why? Because I had money. Because I had money. So it isn't about, I know what you're saying, but what I'm telling you, and I feel it, and this is the most I've talked about me in the taping, but it's important that you understand that it was not about your dad getting new clothes or buying him. It wasn't about ignoring you guys. I didn't even know what I had. I was just accumulating things. Yes, I know now. I even knew when he died that was a big part of that man that I hadn't even bothered to get to know. Okay, I'm sure you are sitting there in your living rooms or at your kitchen table and you are wondering what went on in that home from what she's saying. There came a time in their lives when I went away and they were left with this man, now doing of my, well, it was a doing of my own, but the one consistency in their life left them. And they were left with a father already, as they saw, muddied in their eyes, someone that they couldn't trust, someone who wouldn't even stay around to help when their mom was there. And now the two littlest, my youngest, are left with him. My oldest daughter has gone her way. She lived, we had a huge Victorian, and she lived in the basement apartment, and we had the upper 2 floors. And my son had already gone to live in New York with his uncle. So there are these 2 young little girls. And a father who wavered between, because he had addictions to alcohol and to drugs, he was left with them. And their savior became their grandma, who came to get them, but she had her own demons, my mother. So they were now forced to leave their home. Their mom was going to be gone, and she was not there to protect them. So this is what you hear in Marie's bewilderment, her anger, as to when she's saying, why? Why? And she's crying because then she becomes a little girl. Like she said, I did not have your gown to hold on to. What she's talking about is my youngest child, which is Amin Noel Wilson. She, when I went away, she would actually sleep with my gown. It smelled like me. She felt like she was with me. She could curl up with it at night. She wouldn't allow anyone to wash it. And it was like her safety blanket. And she would curl up with that. Marie is saying, I didn't have a gown to hold. Well, she felt she had to look out for her sister, even though they were twins. And she was like, I didn't have anything. I was just a child. And she was always a daddy's girl. And she had noticed and saw his weaknesses. She was the one, as she said, that on their way to church, he would stop at a drug house and he would have her wait in the truck in these very questionable areas, and while he went and got drugs to take, and then they would proceed on to church. So now there's no mommy at home. They're at Grandma's house. Grandma shows love, but it's in an old-fashioned way. So there's no mommy. And so she's saying, why? Why did you leave us? And if you listen very carefully to the third clip, as we go into it, you will hear me encouraging her to be angry, encouraging her to letting her know it was me. It was not her dad. It was me. It was at that point, because there's always a 50-50 in a marriage, and we were married for 33 years. So I have to take on some of the responsibility of that. No matter what happened, I stayed and I went back. And now he couldn't match me. He was not a provider. He had never been one to stay home with them. And now mommy's gone. So let's look at the third clip.
So as a person, as this daughter coming up, sexually you talked with your older sister, you observed your parents. How did you feel about yourself? How did you feel that you could do anything? Or did you feel that you were totally... What does the term low self-esteem, would that apply to you? Talk about that. And how does it relate to your relationship with me? How do you feel that I contribute? Let's try to leave Lance. I know Lance is a big part, and I made him a big part of our lives. I can see that. But how did my relationship, even within the context of his relationship and all your anger, contribute to your low self-esteem? Or, in all honesty, can you even assign it?
I can't pinpoint it. I do know enough about me to know that once I became an adult, not even so much an adult, once I became a mother, it was up to me to continue the cycle or to stop the cycle, to try to.
But what cycle? How did you know?
The cycle of chasing someone.
You saw me as chasing your dad?
Yeah. When my dad was home, regardless if he was drunk, regardless of what he said or how he treated you, you were happy with him just being. And for me, it took 32 years for me to get to the point where I'm not happy with that. I'm not happy just getting by, just being content. I want to be happy. I want to be satisfied. And it's up to me to make sure I'm satisfied. It's up to me to make sure that I'm happy. And I know for the most part, I know now what it's going to take for me to be happy.
So sexually or otherwise, you have made a conscious decision. At what point did you consciously make that decision that I'm going to be satisfied? And what does satisfy mean?
That I'm going to be happy with me. I'm going to be happy with my circumstance and be happy with my life, regardless of who's not. Regardless of if I'm in a 3-bedroom house, newly remodeled, or if I'm back in an apartment preparing to buy another home.
Where does that come from?
That much I think it just came again, it came from me just stopping a cycle. I don't consider myself ever being a materialistic person, but I found myself liking the attention that I got for the material things that I had. I like the way, I love the attention that you gave me saying, oh, my daughter's got this. Marie just bought a townhome down here. Marie just, and I'm happy with what I'm happy.
Did that mean more to you than me calling you Faith?
No.
Did you see me as weak, Marie?
I saw you weak when it came to me. And for the most part of my life, my childhood life consisted of you being, my dad being your focus. So for my childhood life, I saw you being weak. I didn't see you having any, I didn't see you having any, or feeling you having any self-worth.
What did that do to you? Could you depend on me then?
No.
Did you
I could depend on you. I trusted you to an extent. That's what, I mean, Yvette not too long ago asked me, who did I trust? And that's the hardest question because I couldn't even point to I trusted God. Because to trust someone means that person's gonna just accept you for you, and you can just, if in your hardest times you know that person, you can pick up that phone and that person's gonna be there. And not judge you, not have anything to say to you. I mean, if you wanted to scream, if you wanted just to vent, they will let you do that. They will listen and not listen to respond. And I haven't had it. I felt even now that for certain situations in my life, you won't just sit there because you feel like you won't sit there and just listen to what's going on, or what I may be going through, or what I might be feeling, or the situation going on in my life. You still feel that you still have to have your control. You still have to say, no, Marie, this is not right. And just as opposed to just listening. And so for me to trust, for me at that time when he did ask that question, for me to say I can't even really trust God. That was painful yet true. And we talk about faith. And faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. But I found myself only having faith in what I saw, what I could touch. And I think now in my life, that's why I'm so ready at this point to make that transition, and not knowing what the future may hold for me, not knowing not knowing what's going to happen to Yvette when I leave California, not knowing how I may like Florida or wherever I may wind up, but to step out on that faith, knowing that my kids have me to depend on.
So did you think that you're trustworthy?
No.
Why not?
I'm working on being trustworthy, but the reason why I say I'm not trustworthy is because I didn't have anyone to show me trust. I didn't have anyone to show me what trust was about.
Let's talk about a age cycle here. You said that you realized certain things. How old are you now?
36.
When did you start realizing that you wanted to become you, that you wanted to change things? I'm telling your dad's death?
Right after the year anniversary.
So your dad's death was a pivotal point in your life.
Unfortunately,
So around that time, you were looking at your life and you were saying, this is not what I want.
well, my dear daddy took his time. It hurts me. I don't want to go through life. You were married to him for 33 years. You know, being happy. And I want to go through life. I think when my dad died, it was at that point I said, I want to be happy. I don't want to look back and say I should have did this. What if I did this? What if I could have done this? I want to be happy now. I want Tyler to look at me and we can. I like the fact that taking Tyler and we go have girls and go get our nails done. And seeing her change from this little tomboy girl into this, of looking at pictures and saying, Mommy, I look just like you. And laughing with her. And I don't want to cheat them. I don't want to cheat them out of happiness. I don't want to cheat them out of life.
You feel you were cheated?
Most definitely.
How did I cheat you?
We didn't get happy times. I mean, we laughed. We had our laughing days. We had our moments. We had moments. Not times, but we had moments.
Was it painful being my kid? Leave myself.
Yes.
In what way?
Painful being when you feel like you have to go to so many different extremes to get your mother's attention. People you don't care. If you have it. You live for you. You do you. And you hope that while you're doing you, she may look. I don't care, that's my daughter. It's not just Mimi and Janae. I got Marie. It's not just Mooch being sick. I got Marie. That's what I'm tired. I still about Isaiah. But not even about family. I didn't feel you gave us that. I didn't feel you. The painful part of it. I didn't feel you. I felt that we were burdened to you. For some part. I felt that had my dad been there, everything was alright. But no, when he left, it was almost like we left out there with him and you didn't remember us until he came back. Because you were so focused on getting him back there. And then when you got him back there, here's your kids. What about your kids? When it was out, it wasn't, all right, you guys, all right, Marie, all right, Mimi, let's go. You guys can sit down and have dinner. It was about, did your dad call? I'm going to find him. It wasn't focusing on us making sure that we weren't missing anything by him being gone and making sure that you could fill that spot, fill that emptiness without him being gone. And I don't want that for Tyler. That's why, I mean, for me, for Tyler, because Sheriff Ball was out of her life for 13 years, I made sure, I mean, for the most part, you did your best being our mother and our father. Although he was there, but he wasn't there. But you were present. But I want to be more to Tyler. I want to make sure Tyler didn't need anything because her father was gone. She still
know, I mean, she still can look back and come and lay with me, or I can go lay with her. I wasn't out trying to find, if Yvette was there, if whoever one was there, my daughter still knew that I was.
Okay. And I say that with a heavy, no, that's, I just want you to know I'm hearing you. What did, your father died, and I had been diagnosed with hepatitis C. In fact, I had my biopsy 2 days after he died.
I can't say I was prepared for my dad to die. But I was so used to not being there. But you, whether you were chasing him or not, you still had you. And to know that you were diagnosed with this thing, I knew he was a part of his death. To lose your mom, or to think I was going to lose my mom. I was going to push every anger feeling, every resentment feeling I had. It wasn't important anymore. What was important was now. Be making the best relationship with my mom now. Be picking up the phone, sharing every little moment of Tyler's life with my mom now. To fear you're going to lose your mom. I lost my dad at 57, you were 54. You guys had grandma too. Grandma was well in her 80s. I can't imagine that. I feared for Lance. I feared for Mimi most of all. Because what would Mimi do? Where would Janae be? What would happen to us? Would I lose the rest of my family?
Were you angry with him?
I was angry. I was angry at the world. I think at that point, the first that I can remember, I think that's when my heart went out the most to you. That's when I felt of everybody, of everything you've gone through in your life, you of all people didn't deserve this. With my dad being gone, I remember that was one time I was really angry. I was one time, you know, I was glad he deserved to die. Because you didn't deserve what he gave you. You didn't deserve the sickness. You didn't deserve this hepatitis that he gave you. When all you did was want him to love you.
Suppose I was telling you didn't give it to me.
I wouldn't believe you.
That's true.
How'd you get it?
That was from the nearest they can recollect is when I got my tattoo. I've had it for over 20 years. In those days they didn't use anything.
So why didn't you tell me that when you told us that you had this? You said, how dare he gave me this?
Because I was so angry, so I couldn't continue because one of the things where they try to figure out how long you've had it.
Okay, as we come to the end of Marie's clips and her crying really kind of eases into, as you notice, she's holding her son at certain places, and she's almost beyond tears now. She's angry. She's angry, and she really, in her own way, I felt, wanted much more than I can give her other than I'm sorry. And at times like this, I'm sorry sometimes just does not cut it. It's not enough. but it's what I have. And with the grace of God and with prayer, when I say to them, please forgive me, you know, I can only encourage you to get past this spot. I'll acknowledge your pain. I'll acknowledge that it was real. I'll acknowledge that these things happened. Many times that's enough for your children. Just somebody not cursing them out and saying, that never happened and I did the best I could. That's not always good for children. That's not. Because I too was a child in an abusive relationship with my mom. But that's all she knew. And I pray that in conversations, starting with my girls, that they realize that sometimes you give only what you have in you to give. You don't intend, you don't wake up. The mom, I didn't. As I went through therapy, my therapist said to me, you didn't wake up at 5 and decide you were going to marry a Vietnam War veteran who would abuse you, who would hurt you. You didn't do that. This came into your life because of certain factors in your life. And what my daughters, I pray they understand as we close out today, is that I did the very best I could, that I knew. If I had known how to love them more, I would have loved them more. And I simply gave them what had been given to me. My mother showed love by teaching us to go to school, by showing us how to clean, telling us to work hard, because those are the things that came to a woman that was born in 1914, whose grandmother had been a slave. You knew how to work. Your word was your bond. And you got married and had children. Nothing in there about love. If a man worked hard and he wanted to get drunk on the weekends, it was acceptable as long as he took care of you and he came home drunk. He could come home as long as he slept at home drunk and you put him to bed. These things were acceptable. And even though socially they may not be acceptable in the household that you're in, it is. And we came from a household where education was high on the list. It was the thing. You got an education. You traveled. You spoke well. You did not act like a fool. My mother would tell you that. You are to behave. You will not put me to a public shame. So those are the things that I brought to my children. You know, I can remember my mother in all of my life maybe telling me she loved me 3 times. And never really hugging me. But she didn't know to do that because no one had done that to her. So when she died and I saw her there and I lived with her, what I pass on to my daughters as they are confronting me and as they want to know why. Why did you stay? It's because you stay. You take a vow before God and you stay. For better or for worse, you stay. Even when my father said, why don't you give him the entire state of California and you find somewhere else to be. Take your children and go. I truly felt in my heart of hearts that marriage was a sacred state, and you stayed in it because you had made a vow before God. I did not understand the full implications of that, but I passed that on to my daughters. Today, as we close out our segment and we look at the final segment for Marie Noel, where we introduce her sister Janae, it is about resolution. It is about forgiveness at the end of the day. It is about God in any relationship. Hurt comes, you know, it will come, and there's no way about that. So let's finish our segments today with our clip 4.
I've learned that it's very important not to give up. I mean, no matter how humble your beginnings are, it's important to find the blessing and find the lesson and life's ups and downs. This has been a unique opportunity for me to unload some very much needed baggage. And it's been an opportunity for me to open myself and be willing to show my mother the damage as well as the beauty of who I am and what's happening inside me. And I don't know. I'm just overwhelmed because things. Our whole relationship is different. Where it's real now. You know, I was going through a personal thing in my relationship, and I was able to be honest with my mom and tell her exactly where I was at, the exact nature of what was happening, and she gave back to me what I needed to get from her. And what that was is I can never let anything come into my life that will take my attention away from my primary purpose, which is being the very best mother and provider that I can be for my daughter. And I could never let her feel like I don't have it together. But also the flip side is she knows that I'm a human being. That's what I learned, that she didn't know everything, but what she gave me is what she had, and what that is love. A strong, very, very strong, the most dynamic provider. I don't know what the other word I'm trying to look for is, but just her. I never knew a hungry day. Now there was other things that happened to me, but she always went to work. She always she got up in the morning. She got up in the morning and she took her bath. Life showed up and she got up and went and played and did what she had to do to take care of her. And now I get to see her being a woman. Now I get to see her feel. I get to see her grow. I get to see firsthand. That's why it's a unique opportunity because, you know, who would have thought that this would have happened? All the ties and the twists and the turns and the pain that we had to go through. But in the end, I'm blessed with this opportunity to really get to know my mom as a woman and as this really, really soft and gentle person that she just wants to be loved and be happy just like me and just like any of us. And I hate that. And I just that would be that if I'm talking to everyone or somebody who's going to come and do this, someone's going to come do this afterwards, cherish this moment because it's a unique opportunity to understand and to those questions that you were afraid to ask, didn't have a clue how to approach. This is an opportunity for you to do that in an environment of love and peace, you know. And more than anything else, she gave me a God, a foundation, and a foundation of Christ that I can build on, that I can give to my daughter, that says that, you know, no matter what happens, no matter how it looks or what happens, you know, I'm going to be okay. It's going to be fine, you know, and I never give up. Amen.
Now, as you can see, my daughter continued to confront me. And it's important as I allow you into really the deepest pain in my life because I love my children. I loved my husband. I love my son. And I don't hesitate to stop here and say, in losing one of my children and losing Emerald at 6, you know, I love them all. And when I hear the pain they went through and and how they say they didn't understand why I just didn't let him go away. You know, it was important to me. The nuclear family was important to me. And I didn't know really to do anything else. So it's important, as I hope you realize, nothing is resolved without forgiveness. So today, as my daughter confronts me and tapes and pre-recordings, and we are talking now. She's going through a stage in her life, and hopefully next week, as I bring all of my daughters here, and we will have a new host who will interview us together, you will see that we've grown and that forgiveness works, and forgiveness changes the one who is requesting it. So when I ask forgiveness, I must first forgive me, and I've done that. I've looked at me. I've looked at everything that happened to my children, and for years I blamed me, and I said I should have been able to do this better. It is all my fault. But with all the great words, and I'm a wonderful speaker, I can talk forever, not one word that I say today is going to change anything that happened yesterday. The best I can hope for is that it goes forward, that we go forward together, that they pick up a phone now and they'll call me, and that they'll trust that I have the best possible intentions for them in my heart, and that I always ask them, do you want my opinion? And many times they say, of course, Mommy. As you'll see in our taping next week, they'll say, put down the stick. Stop beating yourself up. You were a good mom. But as you see the individual tapes, you hear their rage, you hear their anger. And so you hear that they wanted to get this out. And it's okay. It's okay, because I'm still here. I'm not in a box. Truly, we thank you today, and we thank you. It may seem foolish and even painful, but it's true. Everything you've seen today is true. It's not Hollywood. It's not made up. But it goes back to our relationships with God. Daughters confronting mothers to find that place in God. When you seek and find Him, you pray, hopefully, for the one who loved you, who even despitefully used you. And I'm praying that my daughters who feel that I wasn't always there for them, pray for me. And God then will give His blessings to all of us. And what happens to you who are praying for someone who's hurt you or abused you, you can't help but feel better about that person when you're asking God to have mercy on them and help them. And that's why He tells us to do that, because it changes you. And then God blesses the whole situation. So once more, talk to your children. Talk. Don't stop talking. When you're most angry, take a few minutes to breathe and then go back and say, first off, if I've offended you in any way, please forgive me. And if they can't at that point, walk away, but try it again. You've done what you're supposed to do. And then pray so hard for them. Pray for them that God will have mercy on them and keep them and always see them in the best light. Watch next week as we continue with my final segment with my daughters, which will be hosted by Carolina Garcia. So we hope that you will continue to watch and grow. Have a blessed day. This is VJ Briggs at TBCN. Thank you.
You were up all night, thinking about how your world ain't right, and you wonder if things will ever get better, and you're asking, why is it always raining on you, when all you want is just a little good news, instead of standing there stuck out in the weather. Oh, don't hang your head, it's gonna end, God's right there. Even if it's hard to see Him, I promise you that He still cares. When the waves are taking you under, hold on just a little bit longer. He knows that this is gonna make you stronger, stronger. gonna make you try and do the best you can. Hold on and let him hold your hand. Go on, fall into the arms of Jesus. Oh, lift your head, it's gonna end. God's right there. Even if you just can't feel him, I promise you that he still cares. When the waves are taking you